everybody, it's your boy Marcus Norman from Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Today we have Mr. Roderick Givens. Mr. Roderick Givens takes his personal and professional experience over the last 23 years. This man, his resume is extensive and he's not a newbie to the game. Mr. Roderick takes his 23 years to deliver the important marriage and money talks. After working for several of the largest financial firms in the financial industry and managing his own advisory practice, he now focuses on creating educational content for individuals and couples regarding the money conversations and decisions that we all need to have. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible, the amazing, with a big cheer and round of applause, Mr. Roderick Givens. Thank you for joining us on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, sir.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us on the platform, sir. You are phenomenal, sir. Your resume is extensive. But we are not talking about just Mr. Roderick. We are here to talk about this book. This book, I had the distinct pleasure of reading it firsthand. And I have to say, cover to cover, it is a page turner. Had me the entire way through. I could not put it down. So we are going to discuss this here on the Gentleman Style Podcast stage, sir. So I have some questions for you. But before we get into that, tell us, what's a morning routine that you do? Successful people have morning routines. What's a morning routine that you do every day that really sets the tone for the rest of your day? Is it yoga? Is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it, what is it? What is it you do in the morning that really starts your day off strong?
Well, I think it's actually the prep you do the day before, right? I mean, as much as you want to jump up and start running, just having a little bit of a game plan, to understand where you want to be as far as different projects, different checkpoints, people. But I'm just like everybody else. It's a busy time, and I just try to stay on top of it.
Makes sense. Makes huge sense, right? And so what got you on the path to finance, right? You're a military vet, so I want to say this to you publicly. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
But what got you on the path to finance, sir? Finance is a unique avenue. What started it for you when you was in diapers? You knew I'm gonna get into finance. How did you know?
I don't know if I knew from the start. I just think that most people who work in investments or personal finance have a nice blend of have a passion for people and numbers. And that's kind of where I kind of found my way, undergraduate degree in business, finance, econ, and then just was fortunate to start my career in 1998 right out of school. Wow.
Okay. Well, there you have it, y'all. Right there, right then and there. So finance, this book, right? This is the hot item on the market right now. This book, this is a financial book, but it's not your average financial book. One of the things that caught my attention is the cover. Let's talk about the cover. The most valuable wedding gift. So what inspired this cover?
I did want to kind of move away from traditional finance. If you go to the bookstore, you have a whole section of finance books, right? Personal finance, self-help books, and that's great. I kind of wanted to move more towards the wedding industry to really try to position myself as a part of a very decent sized industry to really get in front of couples at the beginning of the relationship. So while it does have numbers, it has some information on communication, we really wanted to be a present and less about just having couples purchase it for themselves, because we understand how it just kind of moves down the priority list. If I can put this in front of people who are at the beginning and have it gifted to them by friends and family, then I think the effectiveness goes up.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And so one of the chapters that stuck out to me, my favorite investment, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, my favorite investment vehicle is real estate. I love real estate. I hide no secrets about it. And so one of the things you discuss in the book is that you share that real estate is a why, right? The biggest question that most couples need to ask themselves, the biggest question that most couples need to consider is the why behind real estate. Can you talk about that? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I think I'm like most people. I've dabbled. I don't consider myself a real estate expert by any stretch, but when you start the process, you start casually and you start spending all this time and effort, and in hot real estate markets, it's just really, it's a challenge. But before we start going through a lot of searches, I think it's interesting to kind of just back up and go, what is the end goal for this? Not just for one person, but for both. And so I wanted to just have people just kind of understand, and I use the term home, asset, or hassle, and start to separate them out to really identify what is the leading cause of moving forward, or frankly, not moving forward in real estate.
That makes sense. That makes perfect. The most valuable wedding gift, y'all. The most valuable wedding gift. It is available today on Amazon. You can get your copy. I already got my copy. I might get a couple more as I realize who needs this, because the world needs this, right? So you guys get your copy. Don't miss out. This is a movement, and this book talks about it talks about finances and marriage. And so right off the bat, that we're bringing the two together. And one of the powerful topics you discuss is you talked about cash flow and how the wealthy don't like the B word, which is budget. And you mentioned that in the book. Can you talk about that chapter? That chapter was unique because I thought wealthy people have budgets, but as an industry expert, tell us what you're seeing and tell us how you broke it down right there.
Right. And actually, let me just kind of, mention that it's not just about personal finance. I kind of blend the two of personal finance and my business background. I clearly own a business. I analyze business for work, for evaluation purposes. And I also actually sat on a board of a community development fund, which loaned money to businesses. So I've gone through a decent amount of exposure on how it works. And I find that there is a lot of integration between the two. But if I say personal finance, it seems like it's about two things, debt and budget. But if you think about budget, it's kind of a projection, and it's about what you should do. And what I find is that before you get into that conversation, we want to understand, first of all, the word and how it affects people, because it could be a showstopper. Literally, it could stop conversations before they even start. And I gave an example of, sitting down with a couple who, frankly, just, they had plenty of means. They felt that word was just like, that's not what we need to do. We have what we need as far as making our own decisions. But I think in general, when you use the word budget, it does cause a emotional reaction in a lot of people. So instead of starting, and I try to, be very careful. I'm not saying I completely avoid it. I just said, before we get into what we're supposed to do, wouldn't it be good if we actually understood what we've already done? Because there's no real, you don't have to do a lot of, changing of your habits. You just have to understand, kind of where you've been. And then you start to understand where your values are, maybe make adjustments as far as discretionary versus non-discretionary, or things that are needs versus wants, and then one-time expenditures versus, reoccurring expenditures, or constant expenditures versus variable expenditures. So I try to just not to tell people any way how to spend their money. And that's one thing I was very careful of, just saying, this is not telling you what to do. It's just laying out this roadmap so you can take your own situation as a partnership and start to understand where you are before you start going where you want to go and how you're going to get there with products and services.
There you have it. Mr. Roderick, y'all. The incredible Mr. Roderick. And that's huge, right? I love how you break that down. And I love how you take finance as a not so intrusive approach. And you break that down very well in the book. And it was, and I can see that, right? I can put myself in the shoes, like, how dare you, right? How dare you question me about my finance? Obviously, if I've attained a certain level of wealth and now I'm coming to you with my portfolio. So how dare you question, am I on a budget? right?
Right.
It was almost intrusive, and that's how people can sometimes want to take a back step to it. So I love how you broke that down. The most valuable wedding gift, y'all, available now on Amazon. Check it out. Get in the game. We have one quick commercial break. You guys stay tuned, stay with us, stay engaged. You won't want to miss 1 second of this incredible man. Here, we'll be right back. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye. Hey everybody, we are back from that quick commercial break. We have the incredible Mr. Roderick Givens, and he is spilling the tea on this great book, The Most Valuable Wedding Gift, written by Mr. Roderick himself. And this book, you all have to get a copy. This book is made for the new couple, the newlyweds, beginning weds. It doesn't matter. If you've been married for 30, 40 years, this book is for you. You have to get a copy. This book, I could not put it down. So please get your copy. Mr. Roderick Williams, y'all. Sir, you are phenomenal. Thank you for breaking down earlier in the show. If you all missed it, tune back in. Mr. Givens broke down how real estate, he's not professing to be some real estate guru, but he does beg the question, and he encourages marriages to ask the question, if you're considering adding real estate to your portfolio. That's one of the topics in this book. The next topic Mr. Givens just broke down was how cash flow and bringing those two together, and not necessarily having a financial conversation around a budget, because people tend to get icky and ugly around the word budget. So he talks about that various approach in your marriage in this very exact same book. So Mr. Givens, sorry. In the book, you discuss cash flow, right? And you bring up, you also talk about, what's it called? It's not net worth. And you call it, what is the word? It escapes me right now. Human capital and social capital. Forgive me. Human capital and social capital. I was thinking net worth and something else. What's the difference between human capital and social capital, and why is that significant?
Right. And let me just highlight that, most financial professionals will focus on the investments, which kind of is on the personal balance sheet. And they will focus a little bit on the cash flow. But those are kind of financial things. What I like to also bring in, and this is why I think this book is a little different, is I also say there's about 3 things you also need to account for that your partnership has. And that's your value system, that's your social capital, and your human capital. Because the book is not about money. It's about how you two have discussions about the decisions of the partnership. So the 2 things that you mentioned, which is, one is human capital. Human capital is simply your worth in the open marketplace. And that is how much you're paid for what you do. I mean, we live in a capitalist society. How much are you compensated for that? And so what goes into that is, are you truly earning what you should earn? And how is that earning potential going to match up with obviously what you want to spend going forward? That's a very, very important aspect that a lot of people kind of, they just assume I'm going to have this job, or, I have a project. It doesn't really, it ties into the adult continuing education. So those two concepts really kind of go together. Now, again, that's human capital. And then I've moved over to social capital, which is how we make decisions in our partnership may have to do with our standing, how we want to be perceived in our society or our community. Now, I want to make it clear that this book is not telling people what's right or wrong. I'm simply laying out the landscape. So while I could tell you that food is a necessity, whether you're eating at one restaurant A for fast food that you could do it for $20, or you're having that nice dinner for $150, those are things that factor in our decision on where we stand, what shoes we buy, what car, where we live. All those things factor in, and they're not always just basic needs like housing and clothing and food. Those are, within there, you may have some separation of how we actually make those decisions. So I just wanted to identify those because they do factor into our decisions, whether even to attend a birthday party. It may not be just the birthday party. It may be just what is the capital that we're building in our community, in our village? And that is something that two people may want to have a conversation. And I'll just leave you with that. This is that outside of just the money, I use the word team, and that's the time, energy, ability, and money. And instead of just focusing on the money, again, that's my background, I realize that we make those decisions all the time of, is it worth my time? Is it worth my effort? Is it worth my expertise? Because we do have expertise in certain areas. So when you combine that together for not just one person, but for two people, that's where decisions are really made. And I wanted to lay that out for people, again, who are going through real life. This is not a, just a check the box, A, X plus Y equals Z. It's how do you go through this? How do you foster the relation? How do you foster the conversation? And how do you move forward as a partnership?
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. In the beginning of the book, and I love how you delicately said that, because in the beginning of the book, you don't force yourself on anyone. Throughout, I love how you go through the book and you're never like, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's all, like you said, it's all just laying the foundation, and it leaves the couple with the decision making on what they want to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the information. Here's the tools. Add these to your toolbox, and then you make it fit the inner workings and the dynamics of your own relationship. But you lay some really profound groundwork in this book. And you started off in the example of, you compared two restaurants, and you talked about two restaurants who, oh man, he's new, right? Two restaurants next door, and how frustrating that will be to have someone move in and now they're encroaching on your space. It was like, Mom, well, my wife, now she's going to want my shoes. She's going to want all my sweatshirts, and all my jerseys are all gone now. And now I have to share my customer base with someone else. But then you say, well, we're actually commingling, and we're actually getting along, and we're actually sharing customers, and we're actually benefiting. And hey, we may even sit down and have coffee in each other's restaurants from time to time. And you discuss how breaking down that wall, that marriage is just like a business partnership. And you break that down. Delki, why did you touch on it in that way? Why did you go that route?
Well, I think there are a lot of books that talk about a lot of the intangibles, which I think is great. But at the end of the day, a partnership, a marriage, is technically a business partnership. It technically is a legal partnership. And I wanted to just recognize that, again, what I said earlier is that the difference between personal finance and business is not that much different. Again, you're just tying two people together as one entity making decisions. And so I wanted to kind of put it in the framework of something that people can understand, that they see that these things don't have to necessarily operate autonomously, but at the end of the day, there are nuances that need to be considered that make it function the way it is. And I didn't put this in the book. It's almost like a zipper. You may have a zipper that, works 70, 80%, but you also want to account for the 5 to 10% where there might be something. If you can fix that, you can actually zip your thing all the way up. Sometimes you need to go back down, fix it, and then zip it back up. So I think what I was trying to do is just give a holistic approach, take it out of the financial kind of context where sometimes the words get a little bit confusing, and then help people understand that cash flow, net worth. And then once you understand those two, then you can start moving forward with your goals.
Do you all see the passion? Do you all see the energy that comes out when he talks about, he loves this. I love this book. Do you see the passion that comes out when he goes in? He's like a surgeon, right? And he's breaking it down and he's, opening and like scalpel, scissors, and he's stitching you back up. He's slowly taking you on this journey with him. And it is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I love the energy, sir. We have one more quick commercial break. I know you guys are loving this. I'm loving this. We have one quick commercial break from our sponsors. Stay tuned. Stay with us. Stay engaged. We'll be right back.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENTSTYLE at manscaped.com.
Hey everybody, we are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast show. We have the incredible Mr. Roderick Givens here on the show, taking your marriage to the next level. And this is Next Level. You can get this book on Amazon. It is available right now. So, Mr. Roderick, I love how you broke that down. You talked about the topic of real estate. You touched on marriage. You talked about the union of a marriage and the choreography of how two businesses combining and working harmoniously together versus against each other is similar, right? That's similar. This was a great point in the book. You brought up you're not this book was not the average book, and I was expecting you to talk about debt, and you did in the book. But I was surprised by the part in the book you actually don't discuss the topic of debt in a negative sense. Can you share your thoughts behind that topic and the views of debt, because you actually make debt a more positive light? And instead of saying, no, you're right, you didn't take the Dave Ramsey approach. You didn't take the get rid of debt, get rid of all the debt, pay off your house in 5 years. You didn't take that approach, even though you could, as with 23 years of financial experience. Tell us, can you break down that structure and your views on debt and how you just went through that?
Right. I coming from, a wealth management where we not only go through investments, we go through lending and insurance, annuities. There's a lot of different aspects of wealth management. I look at investments. I look at including debt as tools. And I didn't put this in the book, but it's almost like you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, and you would be kind of, if you went down don't go down aisle number 7 because someone got hurt down that aisle last week. It's like, it's just a tool. It really depends on how you use it. And so instead of saying that, assuming that people are going to misuse debt or not understand it, I just said, look, debt is a tool. It's really taking a component to obtain other things and using it correctly. So I gave the formula of saying debt becomes a problem when you don't have, first of all, you don't pay, and I'm using credit cards specifically, but if you don't pay it off, in the time period, 2, there's not a corresponding asset against it, because you can have debt and have assets, and they go together, and like a house, right? Everybody's familiar with the house as an asset and the mortgage is the liability. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a plan to pay it back or to settle up your score, then that's where the problem really lies. And so again, just, having worked with people who have, understood that, how to use it correctly, or worked with professionals who presented it correctly in the right context of their overall financial picture, then I think debt is an option. And clearly people, it's not as if everybody has debt problems. And that was the only thing I wanted to back up and say, this book is not just about budgets, and it's just not about debt. I did address them, but I wanted to lay it out in the landscape of, hey, let's understand how it fits with your balance sheet and also how it fits with your cash flow. And then once you have more questions, go ahead and seek a professional and see if it works for you.
This book is my best friend, y'all. I love this book. I love this book. This book is my best friend. Thank you. Thank you for because I used to feel bad when I used to listen to the financial gurus. I used to feel bad about that. They hit at the core, but you went about it in a peaceful manner, and you didn't cut me too deep when you went into that. So I thank you for that. I appreciate it for not making me feel bad about some debt. Like you said, manage debt, right? If you're managing the debt, then it's okay. That's what worked for you, right? And that's what this book is all about. I love that. Huge. COVID-19, let's just say 2020 was a dumpster fire, right? It's been really painful, and this was a tumultuous year. And people notice things. If the COVID-19 forced marriages to really give that gut check. In your experience and in your advisory experience, what have you seen couples struggle with the most coming out of this pandemic financially?
Well, to be clear, I would be tough to me to make a comment on people that I don't work with because I don't know. But from even before COVID, I think it's a question of, do we clearly understand our total picture? And I think one of the challenges we run into is that there are a lot of specialists that they may, first of all, there's obviously people who maybe not add a lot of value, but even specialists, they're really good in a certain area, but you have a little bit of information here, a little bit of here, and then you have this. And I use the garage analogy. I don't know if you remember that. And they're all over the place. And so whether it's before the pandemic or even the pandemic, and what I like to say when I did my book launch is that I'm not really expecting just to come out of the pandemic. I want to accelerate out of the pandemic because I know what I'm doing. I understand the big picture. I may not have all the answers, but if I have the framework in place, it's communication. What do I have? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? With a variety of vehicles, it may not be just one, and then understanding human behavior, then I can start to build a framework and start to not only have, kind of a game plan, but then in addition to that, if I need additional services or I need additional help, that's where I put in then choosing the financial advisor. And then whether it's a financial advisor, real estate, insurance, the title really doesn't matter as much, but now I know what to look for when I'm looking and I'm seeking professional help. And that's what I hope people do is they become a lot more serious. Last but not least, we got to overcome the taboo about talking about money. We just have to. And that's one of the things that I kind of, started to say, look, we're not trying to shame anybody. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I need help, or there's something I don't know. And I hope this is a step in the right direction along with a lot of the other resources that are out there.
This book is absolutely a step in the right direction. This book, you're right? No one talks about money. Money is kind of this mysterious thing, right? I always say it all the time. People we don't talk about money. Like you see a kid, your child going to the coffee table and he, rummaging through some bills and your parents are like, no, go play, go outside, right? Because you're not trying to take away that young man or young girl's childhood from them, but the conversation needs to be had. And I'm not saying that teenager needs this book, but after he gets out of college and after he's done some things, this is the book to get because it lays that foundation. You've heard that throughout the whole episode. Foundation. This is that book. Another round of applause for Mr. Roderick, y'all.
Thank you.
Sir, before I let you go, what is your favorite way to give back to your community besides the book?
Oh, well, it's not, the book is actually just a collection of my thoughts. I've been working on this for a while. I've served on about 3 boards I've served on a community club, a chamber, a community development fund, block parties. It just really is about just being involved. And one of the things I had a book launch earlier this week, and it was really just I talk a little bit about the book, but it's about the village. And one of the things that I cannot tell you how much it meant for me is the people who saw this process, because it started actually in 2016. it really has been an evolution, but it's really just a collection of all the people around me, friends, family, business owners. It's just really just, I am just a cog in my community. And I think, again, kind of back to what we were talking about the village, we really just have so many resources available to us. So if we could just pull it all together and just be a little bit more aware of what's out there and really work together, I think we can really just, I think we could do a really, really good job. And so I hope I can continue that with not only this book, but my contribution to the village.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You all know where to get a copy of the book. Sir, how much is the book?
That's a good question. I should know.
No, it's fine.
I wrote it. I don't know. There's some other people involved, but I think it's this is the point. If you buy this for someone as a wedding gift, it will probably not be the most expensive. It may not be the least expensive, but there's no doubt that this will be one of the most impactful things that you can gift someone. So I feel really good about whether it's in digital form, whether it's in soft copy or audio form, that this will be a value to whoever receives it.
This book was an absolute value. It's very affordable. He has it electronically and hard copy. I like the hard copy. I like to feel it, smell it. I like to bend the pages a little. Well, I'm not going to bend it on screen because I like this copy, but you can bend the page. I like the hard copy, but he also has it on Kindle, y'all. So you can download it on your Kindle, and it's very, very affordable. I just checked out the website. I'm going to put it back up on the big screen, and it's in the comments, y'all. So click that link, check out the book, get your copy, get in the game, and get on it. You have to check this out. You won't want to miss it. I feel like this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to get to a better financial structure, and Mr. Roderick is leading the way. Sir, how can my audience connect with you? How can we grow with you? How can we learn more and stay a part of your journey, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. My handles tend to go around the firm, which is Marriage and Money, Money Conversations, and the Most Valuable Wedding Gift. And I'll go ahead and supply those contacts, social media contacts with you. But those are the typically how you can get in contact with us.
Absolutely. I went ahead and cheated and I stole some of those. So I got your Facebook, that's facebook.com at marriage is money. Yeah. And we got the Instagram. So check them out there. Yeah. Instagram /marriages_money. And then his website, of course, www.marriageismoney.com. Marriage is money. I said it as 2 words. Marriageismoney.com. So check them out for my audio listeners. We can be found on Audible, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, which is the biggest platform. And you can see Mr. Roderick, and you can tune into the book cover, and you can see this. So check us out on YouTube. Mr. Roderick, any final tips? Any final nuggets? I know there's a lot more nuggets. If you had one more tool in your tool bag, you could leave my audience, sir.
Well, there's just, it's packed with information, but your values are really important. And I'm not going to dictate them, but not necessarily understanding where they connect or where they're same, but where they differ is really going to be where the challenges lie. So if you guys can identify your values where there may be a little bit of a disconnect, that's going to reap huge dividends going forward.
Look at that, y'all. Right off the cuff. One more nugget, one more tidbit. I love this. I love what I do. Mr. Roderick, thank you, sir. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for giving back in this way. This is phenomenal. What you are doing is necessary. And I want to thank you here on the Gentleman Style Podcast platform publicly. Please don't ever give up. We need you. We need you, sir.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd love to talk more, but this man has a company to run and some books. He's on tour. You can check him out on his website again, Marriage is Money, and go check out that book on Amazon. Thank you all for tuning in today. I hope this message has served you. I hope this was impactful, and I hope this was helpful. Take your marriage, your business, your relationship to the next level. Like I end every show, take care of your families, take care of business, and take care of home. This is Marcus Norman, Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and Mr. Roderick Givens signing off. Love you guys.